The cameras flashed relentlessly, their lenses capturing every twitch, every glare, every tension-filled moment in the packed congressional committee room. Reporters leaned forward, pens poised, live feeds streaming to millions across the nation. The air was electric, thick with anticipation, as Jim Jordan rose, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips, ready to dominate the floor. Across from him, Raskin sat composed, a quiet storm of integrity and resolve, his eyes unwavering, his calm a stark contrast to the brewing chaos. "Mr. Jordan," Raskin began, voice steady but carrying the weight of moral authority. "The American people deserve transparency, and this amendment is their right." Jordan leaned in, interrupting with a sharp, dismissive tone that sliced through the tension. The room collectively gasped, a murmur spreading like wildfire. This was no ordinary hearing. The clash had begun. Suddenly, Jordan unleashed a volley of accusations, each word sharpened to provoke outrage. "This amendment is a political stunt," he declared, pointing aggressively. Yet Raskin's eyes didn't waver. Every journalist, every camera, every viewer online felt it. The calm before the storm, the unspoken promise that what came next would be unforgettable. Social media feeds exploded even before the session concluded. Hashtags trended within minutes. Hashtag Jordan versus Raskin. Hashtag Epstein files. Hashtag congressional clash. Memes, heated commentary, and instant analysis flooded timelines. Each clip replayed, dissected, shared. The nation was watching, hearts racing, eyes glued. Every citizen, every immigrant, every voter invested in justice felt the stakes climb higher with each passing second. Raskin leaned forward, delivering a quiet, sharp line that sliced through the noise. The effect was instantaneous. Jordan's smirk faltered, a flicker of doubt flashing across his face. Cameras captured it, reporters scribbled it, and millions of viewers felt it. An unexpected crack in the armor of arrogance. The room held its breath. And then, as Jordan's confidence wavered, the unthinkable happened. A sudden, pointed interruption from Raskin that left the committee stunned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Did he just? Everyone knew something historic had begun, a confrontation that would dominate headlines and social feeds for days. This wasn't just politics. It was a battle for truth, for justice, for dignity. But what happened next would send shockwaves across the nation, shaking the very foundations of power and leaving millions glued to their screens, hearts pounding, desperate to see the outcome. The tension in the chamber was palpable, each second stretching longer than the last. Cameras panned over the anxious faces of lawmakers, their whispered conversations barely audible over the hum of anticipation. Every eye was fixed on the two figures at the center, Jim Jordan, exuding arrogance with every gesture, and Raskin, a beacon of calm precision, his every movement deliberate, purposeful. The clash was no longer just about a single amendment. It had become a defining moment in the ongoing battle over transparency, accountability, and the nation's moral compass. The Epstein Files Amendment was more than a piece of legislation. It was a symbol. It represented the demand for truth in a system often clouded by secrecy and privilege. And as the debate unfolded, the audience, both in the chamber and across millions of screens, felt the weight of what was at stake. Citizens, immigrants, activists, and everyday Americans watched with bated breath, wondering who would emerge victorious, whose values would prevail, and who would crumble under scrutiny. This was the kind of moment that history remembers, a confrontation that could shape public trust for generations. Jordan's voice rose again, sharp and combative, his rhetoric aimed at provoking not just Raskin, but the entire assembly. "This amendment is a political ploy. It undermines our institutions," he bellowed, his tone echoing through the room like a challenge. But Raskin remained composed, his eyes locked on Jordan with unwavering focus. He knew that raising his own voice would only fuel chaos. Restraint and calculated precision were his weapons. Every pause, every measured response, carried more weight than 1,000 accusations. Outside the chamber, social media ignited with the speed of a wildfire. Hashtags trended within minutes. Hashtag justice or politics. Hashtag Jordan versus Raskin. Hashtag Epstein files amendment. Analysts, commentators, and everyday viewers dissected every gesture, every phrase, and every subtle inflection. The story had taken on a life of its own, spreading like lightning across feeds and newsrooms. Millions felt a mix of anger, anticipation, and inspiration, each reaction amplifying the stakes. It was no longer just a debate. It was a cultural event, a defining test of integrity versus ambition. As the minutes stretched, Jordan's interruptions became more aggressive, attempting to unnerve Raskin and seize control of the narrative. But with every attack, Raskin's calm grew more pronounced, his clarity cutting through the noise like a knife through fog. Whispers circulated in the room. He's not just responding, he's dismantling the arrogance piece by piece. And the citizens watching from home felt it too, a sense of hope, of justice, of witnessing the rare moment when truth refuses to bend under pressure. Then came the subtle, almost imperceptible moment that changed everything. A journalist's camera caught the flicker in Jordan's eye, a micro-expression of doubt, a crack in his otherwise unshakable facade. It was a split-second confirmation that the tide was shifting. Raskin's composed demeanor wasn't just a strategy. It was a signal, a declaration that the moral arc of this confrontation was bending inexorably toward accountability. And just as the room seemed to settle into a tense rhythm, Raskin leaned forward, delivering a line so pointed, so precise, that it hung in the air like a verdict. Every journalist, every citizen, every viewer sensed it. The real battle was about to begin. What unfolded next would not only define this amendment, but would challenge the very core of public trust, exposing arrogance and elevating integrity in ways no one in that room, or beyond, could have predicted. The suspense was unbearable. Every camera, every screen, every whisper of social media held one question: who would emerge not just victorious, but morally triumphant? The answer was coming, and the nation would not look away. Jim Jordan had built his career on a foundation of defiance and relentless ambition. From the very beginning, he navigated the corridors of power with a singular goal: dominance. Political rivals whispered about his tactics, his calculated interruptions, and his ability to twist narratives to suit his image. To some, he was a master strategist. To others, a symbol of unchecked arrogance, a man willing to bend truth if it meant victory. The very room that now hosted the clash over the Epstein files amendment had seen him rise, seen him wield influence with a confident, almost intimidating flair. His public persona radiated control, a mix of charm and bravado that kept opponents off balance. Behind closed doors, however, stories circulated of moments where ambition overshadowed ethics, decisions that prioritized power over principle. Jordan supporters celebrated his tenacity, claiming it represented the strength of conviction. Critics, however, argued it was a relentless pursuit of self-interest, a willingness to silence dissent and avoid accountability. This duality made him unpredictable, dangerous even, because the world could never fully know when he might pivot from calm negotiation to aggressive confrontation. The villain's arrogance was cultivated over years of political theater. He understood optics better than anyone: how to dominate headlines, control the narrative, and force adversaries into reactive positions. When cameras rolled, when microphones captured every syllable, Jordan performed with precision. Every smirk, every pointed finger, every cutting remark was choreographed to convey authority. Yet beneath the performance was a subtle vulnerability, a fear of exposure. The Epstein files amendment, with its demand for transparency and truth, threatened to pierce that carefully constructed armor. Colleagues recalled moments in previous hearings where Jordan's confidence faltered only briefly, flashes of frustration when confronted with undeniable evidence. Those moments, fleeting as they were, hinted at a man who thrived on control but struggled when the moral compass of justice pointed in opposition. He had faced opposition before, but never an opponent like Raskin, someone whose calm, meticulous approach magnified every misstep and exposed arrogance without aggression. The contrast was stark, Jordan's fiery bravado against Raskin's composed integrity. This backstory painted him as more than a simple antagonist. It was a study in contrasts. His flaws amplified his power, making every confrontation dangerous and every miscalculation spectacular. The audience, both in the chamber and watching nationwide, would sense this tension intuitively. They would see the smirk, the bravado, the carefully practiced confidence, and yet they would feel the cracks forming. Social media chatter and live commentary hinted at the anticipation. Could this master of deflection finally meet his match? Could arrogance be unmasked on a stage designed to test both intellect and moral courage? As the room held its collective breath, the history of Jordan's ambition, his past victories and near failures, loomed over the debate like a shadow. The stage was set, the stakes clear, and the villain's vulnerabilities, though buried beneath layers of performance, were exposed to those paying attention. The audience knew that in the next moments, his well-honed defenses would be tested like never before, and that the clash over the Epstein Files amendment might finally reveal the man behind the public persona. Raskin's journey had never been about power. It had always been about purpose. From his earliest days in public service, he carried with him a sense of responsibility that transcended ambition. The immigrant families he met, the communities struggling to have their voices heard, and the countless citizens who trusted him with their stories shaped a man of unwavering principle. Unlike the theatrics of his political adversaries, Raskin's strength lay in quiet resilience, in the kind of moral clarity that demanded no applause but commanded respect. He had faced battles far greater than a congressional hearing, moments where truth demanded courage, where standing up meant risking reputation and career. Each struggle had honed his ability to remain composed under pressure, to assess chaos with unflinching eyes, and to strike with precision only when the moment demanded it. It was this patience, this calculated integrity, that set him apart from opponents who relied on bluster and spectacle. Where others saw chaos, he saw opportunity, the chance to illuminate truth and uphold justice. Raskin's commitment to transparency, accountability, and dignity was not abstract. It was personal. He had witnessed the consequences of silence, the damage wrought when powerful figures avoided scrutiny, and the fear it instilled in ordinary citizens. Those experiences forged a sense of empathy rare in the halls of power, a hero's compass rooted in the lives and struggles of those he served. The Epstein Files Amendment was not just legislation to him. It was a moral obligation, a chance to ensure that truth, once concealed, would finally see the light of day. As he prepared to confront Jordan, every detail mattered. His research was meticulous, his arguments rooted in undeniable facts, and his demeanor strategically calm. The room, the cameras, the eyes of a nation, they were all part of the stage, but Raskin's focus was singular: justice. Every pause, every pointed remark, every calm counter to provocation was a reflection of a lifetime spent learning that dignity under pressure could dismantle arrogance more effectively than anger ever could. And yet, beneath that composure, there was anticipation. Raskin knew that the next moments would test everything he had cultivated: the patience, the precision, the moral clarity. But he was ready. The hero was prepared to turn a clash over a single amendment into a statement about truth, integrity, and the power of unwavering principle. The stage was set, the nation watching, and history was about to witness a rare confrontation where courage met arrogance, and character would define victory. The chamber was alive with tension, each heartbeat amplified by the collective gaze of journalists, politicians, and millions watching through live streams. Jordan leaned forward, his voice sharp and insistent, hammering phrases that echoed like accusations. "This amendment is nothing but a political stunt," he barked, pointing directly at Raskin. The words reverberated, meant to intimidate, meant to provoke a reaction. But the man across from him remained unflinching, a pillar of composure amid a storm of chaos. Raskin's eyes never wavered. Every word he spoke was deliberate, calculated, and precise. He allowed the room to feel Jordan's aggression, to absorb the spectacle, and then he countered with facts that were undeniable, evidence that could not be brushed aside. The contrast was staggering. Jordan's fury, fueled by ego and desperation, versus Raskin's calm, measured conviction. Reporters scribbled feverishly, cameras captured every micro-expression, and social media feeds erupted with anticipation. Hashtag Jordan versus Raskin and hashtag Epstein Files Amendment flooded timelines within seconds. The debate escalated as Jordan attempted to dominate the narrative through volume and spectacle. He interrupted repeatedly, each time trying to unsettle Raskin, to break the rhythm of his composure. "You're hiding the truth behind theatrics." Jordan snapped, slamming a hand on the table. His supporters in the room nodded vigorously, thinking the hero might finally falter. But Raskin's calm only sharpened, his response a masterclass in restraint and logic. He spoke deliberately, dissecting Jordan's claims with surgical precision, exposing contradictions without raising his voice. Every rebuttal landed like a blow, measured but undeniable, turning the room's tension into a tangible spectacle of moral power. As the seconds stretched, the room became a theater of contrasts. Jordan's face reddened with frustration, his smirk faltering, revealing the cracks in his armor that had been hidden behind years of confidence. Micro-expressions betrayed a man struggling to regain control, while Raskin's demeanor radiated certainty, empathy, and unshakable resolve. Audience members, both in the chamber and across the nation, felt the drama unfold in real time, their emotions mirroring the moral battle in front of them. At one point, a seemingly small exchange drew gasps. Jordan attempted a verbal jab meant to ridicule, but Raskin, with a single calm retort, turned the remark into evidence of integrity, subtly flipping the power dynamic. The shift was instantaneous. The room fell silent for a beat, cameras zooming in, capturing Jordan's rare moment of uncertainty. Social media erupted. Millions tweeted, streamed, and shared clips, hashtags multiplying as viewers analyzed every gesture and every calculated pause. The narrative was shifting before everyone's eyes. The climax of this escalation arrived when Jordan, desperate, raised his voice to a near shout, attempting to dominate not just the debate but the room itself. Raskin, however, remained unshaken. His eyes locked on Jordan, his tone calm, his message unassailable. The hero had turned aggression into an opportunity, arrogance into a mirror reflecting vulnerability. And in that moment, the audience understood the battle was no longer just about an amendment. It was a test of character, a revelation of true leadership versus spectacle. And as the tension peaked, the room held its breath, the nation watching, knowing that the next words Raskin spoke would either shatter Jordan's facade completely or escalate the confrontation into history. The suspense was unbearable, the stakes monumental, and the moral arc of the debate was tilting irrevocably toward truth. Raskin leaned forward, his calm intensity filling the room, the kind of presence that demanded attention without a single raised voice. The chamber, once buzzing with Jordan's forceful interruptions, now felt the weight of poised authority. Every eye turned toward him, every camera lens capturing the moment, as if anticipating history itself. Jordan, still flush with anger, attempted one more verbal strike, but it fell flat against the wall of composure Raskin had built with every word, every pause, every deliberate gesture. Then, with measured precision, Raskin began to dismantle the narrative. He spoke of transparency, of accountability, of the responsibility owed to every citizen watching the proceedings unfold. Each point was backed by evidence, documents, and meticulously cited facts, the kind that could not be ignored or dismissed. His words cut deeper than any insult, slicing through the performance of bravado that Jordan had perfected over years in public life. The room leaned in, hanging on every phrase, the air electric with tension. Jordan's face betrayed him. A flicker of doubt, a twitch of frustration. These micro-moments, captured live, became viral seconds across social media. Hashtag Truth Prevails and hashtag Mic Drop Raskin began trending instantly as analysts, commentators, and viewers dissected every syllable. Memes, reactions, and instant polls flooded feeds, a digital echo of the courtroom drama. It was no longer a mere debate. It had transformed into a national spectacle, a theater of morals where arrogance was being dismantled in real time. Raskin paused strategically, letting the silence amplify the impact of his words. Every journalist scribbled furiously. Every viewer felt the tension. Every supporter and critic alike sensed the turning point. Then he delivered the line that would be replayed across newsrooms and social feeds for days. A concise, undeniable truth that exposed the fallacy of Jordan's claims while elevating the moral authority of the amendment. The room erupted in whispers, gasps, and nods of approval. Jordan's smirk faltered, confidence crumbling under the weight of precision, integrity, and unwavering calm. The beauty of this counterattack lay not in aggression, but in control. Raskin did not shout. He did not scream. He allowed Jordan's arrogance to collapse under scrutiny, allowing the audience, both present and virtual, to witness a rare moment where dignity and preparation overpowered bluster and ego. Social media reactions mirrored the room. Awe, admiration, disbelief. Hashtags multiplied. Clips went viral. The moment became a cultural touchstone, a shared instance of justice witnessed collectively. By the end, Jordan was visibly rattled, his interruptions reduced to uneasy gestures, while Raskin's presence radiated authority, empathy, and moral clarity. The audience, both live and online, could feel it. The battle had shifted irrevocably. What had begun as a fiery clash had transformed into a masterclass of composure and truth, leaving viewers breathless, inspired, and hungry for the resolution that was still to come. The moment Raskin's words settled, the chamber was charged with a new energy. Whispers erupted, cameras panned frantically, and reporters scrambled to capture every stunned reaction. Jordan sat back, visibly shaken, his usual composure replaced by uncertainty. The hero had not just countered, he had dismantled the narrative, leaving arrogance exposed for all to see. Outside the chamber, the shockwaves rippled instantly, reverberating far beyond the walls of power. Within minutes, social media erupted. Hashtags like hashtag Raskin Prevails, hashtag Mic Drop Moment, and hashtag Epstein Files Amendment flooded every feed. Clips of Raskin's calm, yet devastating rebuttal were shared thousands of times per second. Memes emerged almost instantly. Jordan's smirk cracked, juxtaposed against Raskin's unshakable gaze. Live commentators dissected every line, every pause, every micro-expression. The nation, glued to screens, felt the tension, the drama, the satisfaction of watching integrity triumph. Tweets multiplied like wildfire. Finally, someone stood for truth. Raskin just schooled Jordan in real time. Messages that mirrored collective relief, admiration, and awe. Traditional media picked up the story with equal intensity. News anchors replayed clips in slow motion, breaking down each moment of Jordan's faltering and Raskin's composure. Headlines declared a turning point. Raskin turns debate in a lesson on integrity, and Jordan's arrogance exposed live. Political analysts argued and debated, some in disbelief, others acknowledging the moral clarity that had dominated the chamber. The story transcended politics. It became a cultural moment, a lesson in accountability, power, and the consequences of hubris. Even ordinary citizens became part of the narrative. Families watching at home shared reactions across chats and forums. Students discussed it in classrooms, and immigrant communities celebrated the heroism of someone standing firmly for truth. The debate, once confined to a congressional room, now felt like a shared national experience. Public forums erupted with conversation. Debates in homes mirrored those in the chamber, and the moment became both a spectacle and an inspiration. As the hours passed, ripple effects continued. Influencers, celebrities, and advocates amplified the story. Politicians who had remained silent were forced to comment. Every reaction, whether supportive or critical of Jordan, added momentum to the narrative. The amendment itself gained renewed attention, the public energized and the stakes redefined. Raskin's victory in the debate became more than a personal triumph. It became a symbol, a shared reminder that courage, preparation, and moral clarity can overcome intimidation and spectacle. And yet, the nation sensed that this was only the beginning. The story was far from over. Questions lingered. How would Jordan recover? What consequences would follow in political circles? Who else would rise or fall in the wake of this confrontation? The suspense was tangible, and millions knew they had witnessed history unfolding live, their emotions entwined with every pause, every reaction, every triumph of truth over arrogance. As the echoes of the debate faded, one truth remained undeniable. Integrity had prevailed. Raskin's calm, precise, and unwavering stand had turned a moment of high tension into a testament to courage, diligence, and moral clarity. The nation, having witnessed arrogance crumble before truth, felt a renewed sense of possibility. Proof that principled action can alter outcomes, that standing for what is right is never futile. Jordan's defeat was not just personal. It symbolized the collapse of bluster in the face of preparation and conscience. For millions watching, especially immigrants and communities often overlooked, Raskin's triumph became a beacon. It reminded them that dignity, patience, and commitment to justice are powerful tools, capable of challenging the loudest and most imposing forces. Social media reactions, once erupting with shock and awe, now brimmed with inspiration. This is what leadership looks like, and truth always finds a way. Beyond politics, the moment carried a universal lesson. Courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet strength to stand, to prepare, and to deliver truth when it matters most. The Epstein Files Amendment, once just a line of legislation, became a symbol of transparency, accountability, and the power of moral integrity. Raskin reframed what had been a volatile confrontation into a shared national reflection on ethics, responsibility, and hope. In the end, the room, the chamber, and the nation had witnessed more than a debate. They had witnessed a moral victory. For those who had longed for justice, for representation, for honesty in leadership, the lesson was clear. Integrity endures, arrogance collapses, and courage inspires. And as millions looked on, hearts racing from suspense and pride, they knew this was not the end. It was a call to carry these values into every aspect of life, to stand firm, and to demand truth, no matter the odds. The chamber had emptied, the microphones silenced, but the impact of the debate reverberated far beyond those walls. Raskin's unwavering stance had not only reshaped the conversation around the Epstein Files Amendment, but had also set a standard for courage, preparation, and moral clarity in leadership. Millions of viewers carried the suspense, the drama, and the lessons into their own lives, inspired by the triumph of truth over arrogance. As screens flickered with viral clips, hashtags, and commentary, one thing was clear. This was more than a political victory. It was a reminder that standing firm, even against powerful opposition, can change narratives, inspire communities, and ignite collective hope. For viewers, immigrants, activists, and everyday citizens, the message was unmistakable. Your voice, your preparation, and your integrity matter. Now it's your turn. Share this story, join the conversation, and let the world know that truth, courage, and dignity can prevail against intimidation. Subscribe, engage, and become part of the movement that values principle over spectacle. History was witnessed today, and you were watching it unfold. Carry this lesson forward, demand accountability, and remember, in every challenge, integrity has the final word.